Welcome back to the Art of Simona. Today I'm going to be doing a painting demo of this illustration. Feel free to sit down, sketch in your sketchbooks, draw something alongside me and get inspired. So here you see me looking at my sketches I made for this illustration. I did a ton of color planning and trying to figure out how do I organize this color on the page, so that it looks dynamic, so that it looks orderly, and that the eye is led towards the main subject. And as you see, I've been quite nervous before starting this painting, so here you see me looking at some illustrations from John Howe, an artist that inspires me a lot. And I guess I found the confidence to start the painting at this point. First I laid down a ton of water onto the page just to soak that paper fully. I do it on both sides so that the paper stays flat on the table. And also it helps so that the paper does not dry out as fast. So then I start out with the first very light washes of color. I start out with the background, which is very light, and as you see I try to keep the colors in warm tones. You will see later why that matters. Something I'm not completely happy with this illustration is the way I applied this bunch of color right there. Mainly because you see I'm using very much of a dabbing motion with my brush, which is something I wouldn't do now anymore, because with watercolor it's best when you apply a wash of color with one stroke, otherwise it will get blotchy and not unified. But this has to do with that this painting actually was done about 1.5 years ago, and this footage is quite old, and I just never managed to record this voiceover and actually publish this video, so I'm a bit late, but life happened in between. Actually right now I'm sitting in a hotel room in Italy because I'm here preparing my wedding, which is something I never expected to happen this soon, but I'm really happy that things turned out this way. So if you hear the seagulls squealing in the back of my voiceover, that's why. At this point you see me laying in the colors of the rocks around the characters. You see me using a very dark blue. It's a cold color, which is in contrast with the warm colors I used before for the light. And you see at the edge I'm using this kind of brown, like yellow ochre color, which is where the rock is actually hit by the sun. And it gives a nice contrast to that dark frame. In contrast to before, where I didn't like that I used the dabbing motion, at this point I use it on purpose, because I want this uneven texture of the watercolor to show the shape of the rocks, and it's actually working to my advantage in this situation. So at this point I'm already starting out with the characters. I'm giving them also the first light wash of color, and of course I'm jumping forward and back, and I start painting the mountains in first, I guess. I enjoy very much when there's little details of moss and greens in my illustrations, so at this point you see me adding some moss and some green areas of lichen on the rocks. So with my characters I usually put down the very first layer very lightly, and then I will build detail after that with darker color, as you see me doing here on the boots. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm sure you must have seen that I'm illustrating a comic. It's about the story that I write in my book, and also all these characters that you see here will be inside the comic. And what I'm really surprised is, since I've started to design the characters and plan their proportions and their outfits and their colors, I was really surprised how similar they actually ended up being to this illustration here, which I did a long time before I actually started illustrating the comic. But it just proves to me how much these characters have become real persons in my mind, and just with their own personality, their own style, their own mindsets. And so I'm really excited to see this come to life, and if you want to see it, go follow me on Instagram, the Art of Simona, and see that comic come to life. Something I tried to achieve in this painting was to make use of the compositional lines. So you see my main character in the green coat is sitting on the rocks, and there are multiple lines around her in the environment that point in her direction, like the mountains on top of her, the bridge that I'm painting in there, and also the actual rocks on which she's sitting. So this leads your eye to subconsciously look at her first, because she is the most pointed to character in the image. Additionally to that, I draw her with more contrast to the background. She's really standing out a lot. Also the color that she's in, she's painted in green and the background is red. I did that on purpose because the green is the contrast of red, and this leads to much more attention to that point of the image. At this point you see me quite confident in the image and trying to add some more detail, but this usually is the point where things go sideways. So you see me trying to take away the masking fluid from the waterfall on the right side, and it completely ripped my paper. I used the wrong masking fluid, it didn't work, and I should have checked it out beforehand, but I ended up ripping the paper and peeling off layers, and it looks horrible. And at this point I'm just questioning the whole painting and I don't know what to do. Thank God I didn't rush to find a solution and I just continued with the painting. Here I decided to put some more dark tones at the very edge, which makes a much better frame and it helps you focus onto the main subject even more. After that I actually found a way to fix the waterfall problem, and I took out my gouache and started layering quite opaque layers, and in the next shot you'll see how the waterfall ended up looking like, and I actually liked it much more than my initial plan of it. So here you see me doing the final touches, using fine liner to really bringing those details on the characters and on their outfits. Now looking back, something I don't like about this illustration is the way this character in the middle ended up looking like. I just feel like she ended up looking too small. I tried to make her smaller because she is actually laying down a bit further back from the other two people, but still it feels a bit weird and it looks like as if she's a small child, which she is not. And so that's something I would change the next time when I'll do another illustration like that. So here I'm adding my final touches with a very light grey fine liner to these houses, and after that I'm gonna be finished with this illustration. I hope you like it very much, and please let me know in the comments what you think. And also, if you've been drawing alongside me, please comment what you've been creating. I'm curious to read. If you enjoyed this painting demo today, please make sure to leave a follow, comment below what you think, and like this video. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye!